Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. I'm pretty excited today because I've just received a big delivery of wood chips, which means that I can redo all my tired wood chip paths. I think wood chip paths in the veggie garden are really critical to the health of your veggie garden. Not only do they help retain moisture and make the garden more resilient during dry weather, but they also can help build soil. Not only that, it makes the garden look really beautiful too. I'm just in between two of my original garden beds in this plot, which I had actually done as a dug bed. I dug out the paths and piled it up onto the garden. It was something I saw online and I thought that was a good idea, but that's before I discovered no dig. So what I've found now is, because I buried this whole path in wood chips a couple of years ago, it has actually broken down really nicely into really good soil. So before I get the fresh load of wood chips down onto this path, I'm going to actually dig this out and probably add it to my tomato bed, because it needed a lot of extra good soil around my tomatoes. So that's what I'm going to do before I get the wood chips in. So I'm going to get started on that now. I'm just going to scrape the top layer to one side so I can dig out the rest. So all I'm going to do now is just dig up just that top layer and move that to where I need it. It's really rich and broken down, and this will add the much needed organic matter to my tomato bed. And then the fresh wood chips will just create the path and go to work to create this in a couple more years' time. I'm just going to make sure that I don't get down to the actual soil level. I did dig it fairly deeply, I think, when I put in this path. You can see that there's still quite a lot of the wood chips that haven't broken down. But because I'm not burying the wood chips where the tomatoes are, this will sit on the ground there nicely. Now I know it would have been a lot easier to do this when I planted my tomatoes, but I hadn't thought of it then, and I didn't have the wood chips on the way, so better late than never. That'll really increase the water holding capacity of this area with the tomatoes. Now that I've got my tomatoes done, I'm going to dump all of this onto some other beds that are in need as well. I've got just normal potatoes planted on this side of the garden, well, actually on both sides, but from this point down I don't have anything other than what you can see here, which is all about to go to seed, so I can clear that out. What I'm going to put here is some sweet potatoes, so I think I'll add a lot of this on top of that to give them a really good start. One thing this dug path has done is actually create a really good moisture sink. It, with all the organic matter in it, any rain that's come along, it just soaks it all up and releases it to the adjacent garden beds as needed. So it's been just fantastic for that, even though the original build disturbed all the soil in the garden beds next to it. I'm going to be just piling this up here for a bit, and when I come to do my sweet potatoes, I'll be clearing some of these plants out and getting those in the ground. With my little trench dug out now, I can bring in the fresh load of wood chips. I reckon a little bit more on this one because we've got lots. Okay, with a bit of walking on it and a bit of rain, this path will settle down really well. I might even have to add in some more, but I'll spread the wood chips around the garden and then add some extra down the track if it's looking like it needs it. But that looks nicely freshened up, and I really love the colour of this broken down wood chip here. That dark chocolate brown is the colour you want your soil. With this end of this path here, I'm going to put it next to these zucchini where this little bed is here, which is growing my future cucumbers. Hopefully they'll take off if we get some warm weather. I might have to just lift some of these nasturtium up. You can see there's fairly bare soil down there too. So I've really got to get that covered, even though nasturtium seem to love it. My main focus in these early days of getting my vegetable garden created is a focus on soil building. Now to do that, I don't add other amendments. I'm not adding lime or checking pH because I'm not really worried about that. If the plants aren't growing well, it's usually because your soil's not right. So I'm putting all my energy into creating good soil. I'm making compost and I'm adding it where I can. And just with, utilising something like this, which I could have just added the wood chips over the top, but this will grow wonderful plants and it really adds to the soil. So have a think about it. And utilise what you've got at your place and put your energy into soil building. So I'm going to loosen this up first and then carefully kind of shovel it in under them. I've got so many blackberries growing everywhere. You've really got to keep on top of them so that they don't take off. You see it's cracking in there. Really need all this right on top, and that will fix that up. Now I don't think the end of this path is as deep as the other end because I'm hitting soil fairly quickly. I'd tip it, but the path's fairly narrow and I just don't want to get it everywhere. This eucalyptus wood chip smells lovely. It's like you're adding the forest to your garden. I know the birds will mess it up, but I really love the contrasting colours when you've added your wood chips. All light and bright against the dark of your gardens. There's some areas of my path which are quite weedy. I'm not going to pop cardboard down because I want to reserve it for that area. So I'm just going to go through and get these weeds out and then get my layer of wood chip over the top. I'm just going to start with this bed here. Getting the layer of wood chips onto this path is really going to help get this weed situation under control. There is still a bit of organic matter on top, but it's fairly close to the soil surface. So the organics is going to help get this under control. This path here is one that I built using just cardboard and then the wood chips right on top. So it doesn't have the depths of aged wood chips to dig out. So all we had to do with this one is give it a quick weed, which I've just done, and get the new wood chips down on top. Having the wood chip paths fairly deep means it's a reservoir of moisture that the plants can draw on when they need it during drier times. There's a bit of work involved, but there's a joy in redoing your paths. These running grasses are terrible, but if you can keep them under control, eventually the roots just don't have enough energy because they can't make with photosynthesis if you haven't left much green up the top. Another thing about a wood chip path is that you can actually grow mushrooms in it as well. In this section here, I've got King Stropharia. I planted some dowels that I got that were inoculated, and I have had some harvests already, and I'm hoping to get a whole lot more. So it's just making the wood chip path also a medium for growing food. Anyone else who comes to this garden really doesn't know where the paths are. I know, and I kind of get cross when people don't stay on them, but that's a path right through there, and that's a path right through up there. So I've got a few plants to clear out and just get some more of that wood chip to define things a little bit better. I love a nice lettuce going to seed because I can just spread those around the garden. And yeah, I might clear a couple of those since I've got these ones here going to seed, so I don't need them all, so I'll get rid of those. Seems that every video I've got something nice to chuck to the chickens. There you go, girls. Before I do any more of my wood chip paths, I'm going to move some of the aged wood chips onto this bed. I'm just going to clear these plants, cut them off at the root, and then add quite a bit to this garden because you can see it's just, you know, down to the soil. There's not much organic matter there. So this bed needs it. And all of this, you can see once again, the organic matter is really non-existent here, except for a little bit of wood chip on top. So I'll add all the aged wood chips to this bed as well. Finished spreading the aged wood chips now. It didn't go far on this bed. I did put a lot on several other beds, so they're all covered well. I am making 2 18-day composts at the moment, so when they're ready I'll be able to top these 2 beds up, and hopefully my lettuce will have gone to seed and I can cut those down and save the seed. This here is actually a path. It does have some lettuce and different things growing in it. So I'm going to clear all that out, get that area of grasses out of there and all these borage which have seeded, and get this path going again. I am planning to build a set of stairs to get down to the house right here, and the plan is that this path will eventually take me directly up to the chickens. I will be grabbing some cardboard and making a path along this upper edge of the garden, which will help to keep the grasses out of the beds, but that will have to be for another time. It's really great to get these wood chips down because not only does it make the garden look great, I know it'll be a lot more resilient going through summer. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, and bye for now.